This is the Art of Network Engineering podcast. In this podcast, we'll explore tools, technologies, and talented people. We aim to bring you information to expand your skill sets and toolbox and share the stories of fellow network engineers.
Welcome back to the Art of Network Engineering auction. Lots of fine items already claimed, and now we're ready for the big one. Last up, we have a lovely set of vintage administrative distances. Let's start the bidding. I have a 1 from the static route in the back. That's kind of skimpy, but hey, we have to start somewhere. Can I get a 5 now? 5 from the lovely EIGRP summary route. Can anyone do better than 5 now? I have a 20 from the external BGP up front. All right, folks, let's kick this up a notch. Lightning round, if you will. I've got a 90 from EIGRP internal with its fancy unequal cost load balancing. 110 from OSPF, followed by a 115 from ISIS. Of course, RIP just has to enter a bid at 120. EIGRP external coming in with a 170. And there's an internal BGP with a bid of 200. Wait, what's this? It's the trusty connected route with a bid of 0 that will actually win it all because, after all, it's lower is better, and this is a completely backwards auction that makes 0 sense whatsoever. Because of this, let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Art of Network Engineering.
All right, thank you, Tim. Another wonderful intro. I am AJ Murray, and I am not at my desk. What's going on here? Dan, what are you doing at my house?
I don't know. I felt like invading your privacy. I don't know.
So Dan took a road trip up to Vermont, and we're hanging out for a few days, and we get to record an episode. Not really together. I'm in a basement office, and he's got the luxury of sitting in my office in my spot. I guess I'll let it fly since he's my house guest. So
yeah,
welcome, Dan.
You see all my Juniper certs here, and all of my Cisco certs here, and then you can also find me on Twitter at No Blinky Blinky.
Yeah, Dan's hanging here for a few days. We're going to have a good time. We're going to work on some content for the podcast and the YouTube channel. We're going to hang out with Joe. So if you've been a long-time listener of the podcast, you might remember Joe from episode 7, I believe it was. He has graciously welcomed Dan and I to come tour his data center. So that's going to be an awful lot of fun. Little field trip tomorrow morning. Going to have a good time. Lots of fun stuff planned while Dan's in town. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to know what it was like. Did Dan come knock at your door? Like how did you guys meet? Finally officially.
Let me take this one.
Down?
So I pulled up at AJ's house, right, and I got out of my car, and I was so I wear glasses. Everybody's aware of that. So I was cleaning my glasses off because they were kind of dirty from the day before, and AJ comes out and he's like, Dan. And I was like, what's up? So I don't know. It was awkward, but it was good.
Yeah. Walked down the driveway, greeted Dan.
Yeah.
He says awesome. I'm taller in person.
Yeah, he definitely is taller in person. Just so if anybody's wondering, but we gave hugs. We didn't shake hands. We gave hugs.
That's what I was hoping. In my mind, when we all meet, I envision us all just running toward each other in slow motion and then just embracing in a big brother hug.
That's going to happen without a doubt.
So to answer your question more directly, AJ, I'm good. My birthday's on Saturday. Got some people coming over. My wife made these amazing meatballs tonight, stuffed with mozzarella cheese. They were amazing.
Ooh.
And in tech-related news, my CCNA expired today.
Oh no!
And I kind of don't care. That's my update.
Why don't you care, Andy?
Because it's no longer a prerequisite for the CCNP.
Yeah.
I care because it was so hard to get for me.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
It's a big milestone for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it started everything, right? And I failed it a bunch of times, and it was really hard and all that. So letting it go is kind of weird, but I could just go take the Encore and get going back on my MP journey. Right. So yeah, because it's not a prereq anymore, I'm like, whatever. And I got to work on some Juniper stuff anyway. But I'm good, man.
Yeah, I was going to say you're in a pretty mixed environment these days, anyway.
Yeah, heavy Juniper right now, so I'm going to jump into that shortly. JNCIA and then service provider.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks.
All right. Tim, how are you?
Fantastic, AJ. My heart is full tonight. Getting to see Dan and AJ hanging out. We got a fantastic guest who's a good friend of mine. This is a good night. Andy doesn't have to work tonight.
Hey,
that's like a first in a long time.
I think we nailed the day,
like.
fellas, collectively.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
It's a good day.
I mean, I feel like I should ask Dan how he's doing because I normally do that, but Dan and I have been drinking all afternoon, so I think I know how Dan's feeling.
I'm doing very good. No,
and the honeymoon phase is already over.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
AJ, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I got to tell you, like, today has been amazing. And it's honestly because it's finally getting to meet Dan, and I'd feel the same way, whoever it was rolling up. But I've been talking to Dan for like the last 2 years. We've been doing this podcast for like, almost a year. And I mean, we've at least been working on it for over a year. We released a little less than a year ago. Yeah. So to finally meet somebody in the flesh and hang out with him, like we've just had a great time. Like, Dan, I think Dan put it in text earlier, like AJ's just as cool in person as he is in virtual. How awkward that'd be if we weren't cool. Dan's just as fun to hang out with in person, if not obviously more fun to hang out with in person than he is.
Well, I appreciate that, AJ, but we've just been like literally all day long. We've just been chatting about like, talking shop basically. It's been awesome. Just the same as we hang out on here, basically.
It's been like an 8-hour podcast, really. Like.
Yeah. Why weren't we recording?
I know, right?
All right, so you need to live stream this whole weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we do.
Somebody needs to strap a GoPro to Dan's head.
I don't know.
All right, well, we do have a guest tonight, but we got some other stuff to work through, so hang tight, guest. We'll get right to you. Let's get to the wins. Andy? All right, kicking us off tonight, Adil Khan passed their AI 900. That is the Azure Fundamentals exam. Congratulations, Adil.
Congrats.
Very nice, very nice.
Good job.
Robin Canella passed
this
2
guy
classes in 2 days, right? Like we hardly ever see him in winning. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's the new Taylor. He's getting on my nerves. Just kidding, Robin.
Nice.
I love it.
Nice.
Just kidding, Taylor.
No. Taylor gets on everybody's nerves.
Oh, come on now.
Just because of how smart he is, That's all. We're
Taylor
just
does
jealous.
not get on my nerves. I look at Taylor as a magical beast. So
he is. Very, very majestic, magical beast.
Sorry, Taylor.
Chris Dedman Rollet. So he works for a contract company. He got brought back in. There's some more work spinning up, and he was also kind of offered an opportunity to be a supervisor and train people. So kind of a promotion in his world. So congratulations.
Oh, that's
Chris.
Awesome.
Wow.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's good.
Meta Bell, aka Cody, as it says in their screen name, accepted a job offer for a network tech at an MSP. So congratulations, Cody.
Nice,
Cody.
Good job. Get in there.
Baltej Giri. I probably really screwed that up, and I'm very sorry.
I'm gonna go with you. Screwed that one up.
Yeah. But they passed their NSE 1 and 2. I believe that's a Fortinet NSE 1 and 2. So congratulations.
Nice.
And guys, we hit 100,000 downloads yesterday.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
awesome.
That is definitely a win there.
100,000 downloads in 355 days. So we did 100K in less than a year.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Truth be told, when this started, I didn't think we'd ever hit 100,000.
No, definitely not.
Ever. Yeah.
Let alone inside of a year.
Yeah, seriously
great.
though, thank you to the fans who have downloaded all those episodes and listened to them. We've gotten awesome feedback in like our Discord and like on Twitter and stuff like that, and we get DMs regularly hitting us up about like questions and like comments on our podcast as well. Like so, the when we did the SD-WAN episode, I got several DMs about like the question I asked on that episode was something to the effect of like certain ISPs having their own SD-WAN solution. Do they allow using like mom and pop SD or mom and pop ISP connections, basically broadband connections? And I got several responses on that. So like I love that. Like if you guys, we're super reachable, right? So if you guys have a question, comment, an answer, whatever, like hit us up on Twitter. We're all looking at our DMs. So I love that you know the fan base reaches out to us regularly. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on. We have a 100K giveaway. It will probably end by the time this episode airs, but the lucky winner is going to get an A1 pint glass, an A1 t-shirt of their size. We're going to get an A1 sticker pack in there. Yeah, all right. And we're also going to throw in a book of their choosing. So if there's any books, that's right, we're also throwing in a goat too. But any books, study materials that's going to help them on their journey, we're going to let them pick a book and throw that in there as well. And then, of course, Andy had the winning goat. So nice little prize pack, all A1 flavored. Hot buttery udders.
I told my wife the name of that goat because she got me this goat and started this whole thing like months ago. I told her the name and she's like, please tell me you have an all male audience because that's not an appropriate name.
Yeah, that's probably true.
We got a mixed audience.
Sorry, ladies. Apologies for the name.
Yeah.
The internet picked it. We can't help it.
Yeah, it wasn't us. We didn't choose it.
Well, it's the last time we let the internet vote. So with the 100K, we launched our Patreon. We've gotten a lot of our fans recommend that we start a Patreon as a way to support the content that we create in the podcast, and we graciously appreciate that. So there are 3 different levels to our Patreon. You can be an official supporter, and that's at $3 a month. And that will just let you, generally support the podcast. We have operating expenses that we need to kind of meet. We host the website. We do some editing. Now we're doing the video thing. So, and we're using this new service called Riverside that locally records our audio and our video. And that lets us kind of produce a higher quality show than what we've been able to do in the past. And, there's some other things that we're looking to do to improve the quality of the content that comes out. And of course, we always want to continue to do the giveaways and stuff that, give back to the community. We want to help other network engineers take the next step in their career, be it a certification or whatever the case may be. So there's the $3 level general support kind of thing. And, we're going to give every Patreon member a shout out. So we'll get to that here in just a minute. The next step up from that is $5 a month, big old $5 a month. And that is our all access pass. And what that will let you do, in addition to the, general support tier, we'll live stream, basically any event that we're doing. So, tonight we're recording, we're live streaming. We have our Patreon members, the current Patreon members in the chat. We can chat with them. They can chat with our guest. And we'll just kind of interact as we record the show in real time. We record every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if that works for you, you could be, joining the chat, watching the live stream with us.
Yeah. I just want to interject real quick.
Sure.
So I'm definitely watching that chat. So like if anybody needs or has a question that I think, is relative to the conversation, we'll definitely make sure that we like answer that question.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And who doesn't want to watch Dan stroke his beard live?
Nice. There's the official supporter, the all access pass, and then there is the VIP. So you get all of the benefits of the first 2 tiers, and for $10 a month, you also get early access to all of our content. So anytime we release something, we're going to release it to the VIPs first. You'll get, the first chance to take a look at it, critique it, give us some feedback, and we can, maybe make some changes at your recommendations, because we trust you. We trust our fans. You're the one that wants to see this. So early access to everything. We're working on some new merch designs, so you'll get early access to all the new merch as well. So we'll let you take a look at it. Is it good? Do you like it? Maybe we can give some away to you. And then, certainly opportunities to purchase that merch before anybody else. And along with that merch purchase is a permanent merch discount of 15% just for our Patreon VIP members. And again, that's a $10 a month opportunity there. And of course, all those funds, as I said, go towards contributing to the operating costs of the podcast, and we're going to give back to the community as well. We're not looking to make a living off of this. I mean, maybe someday, but
I'm looking to make a living off of this.
But we're going to do that with sponsor dollars, maybe.
All right. I mean, to be clear, I'm ready.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely please consider being a patron. If not, there's plenty of other ways you can contribute to the show. Simply downloading helps our numbers. That's a great way to help the show. Go to our YouTube channel, like the content, subscribe to us, hit the bell notification. All of those metrics really help us out. If you're so inclined, comment wherever you're downloading the podcast. Like, rate, subscribe, all of that stuff goes a long, long way to help out our metrics with, the Googles and the Twitters and the YouTubes. All that stuff really helps us out. So that stuff contributes an awful lot to what we're doing here. Let's shout out to our current Patreon members, our very first 6 Patreon members. They joined within the first 5 hours of us launching this thing. So these are some super fans here. So we got Chris Miles, Chris Denny, Robin Canella, Earl O'Connor, Adil Khan, and Luis Garcia Jr. You might know him better as NetSec Wheezy.
Wheezy.
Awesome. Thank
you so much.
Thanks, guys.
To our Patreon members. We
seriously
truly appreciate it. And with that, let's get on with the show. Woo! Without further ado, I'm super, super excited for our guest this evening. He's been a longtime supporter of the podcast. He has to have been around since episode 1. I know he joined the Discord very early. Everybody's been watching his journey on Twitter. He's making some moves. I am super excited to welcome Manny Pimentel to the show. Manny, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. I'm super excited to have Dan here. We're gonna go have some fun after we get off the show tonight. It's where we're gonna have a hell of a weekend. It's Thursday night. We got the whole weekend ahead of us, baby.
You gonna go cow tipping?
No.
Andy, they don't have cows up here. It's all just
Well, no,
crops.
that's a lie. There's definitely cows up here.
They have black bears up here. That
I wouldn't try to tip those.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna tip a black bear. That's for sure.
But we digress. Manny, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you. I think the best place to start is what do you do now? What are you doing today?
Well, it's an honor to be on the show. Very excited to be here. So what I do, I'm a network technician. My nature of work, I'm a contractor for the state of Florida.
Okay. All right. So now, are you like a 1099 contractor, or?
I can be. I specifically request that I'm a W-2, to bypass the 1099 stuff.
Sure. A little easier.
Yeah.
So do you work, and for anybody listening, so
do you work in a specific department for the state? Do you do a specific facet of state duties, or is it across the board?
To be more specific, I support the tolling agency. There's several out here. I support one of the big players, which also has a leg, with one of the departments of the state.
Okay, gotcha. Now let me ask real quick, because on my little journey up here to see AJ, I passed about 20 toll stations, and it says toll by mail. Do you guys have that, or do you guys still do like the booths?
We have both.
Okay, all right.
The agency that I'm more closely associated with. It's mainly transponders and cash. I know recently they've been migrating away from that, where it's all electronic tolling.
Okay.
They usually advertise like, hey, we have the better discounted rates, because there's several agencies local out here that all compete for the business. There's more perks going on along the lines with them that they recently greenlit without dropping any names, but they're a big player where they enabled tolling in multiple states with the same transponder. But there are other agencies that do still do the toll by plate. To answer your question.
Okay. So now I'm curious because I like where I'm from, we don't deal with toll roads. Okay. So I'm curious, are they just going to send me something in the mail that like bills me? Like they have these like fancy camera setups basically. So as you
Oh
drive
yeah.
underneath it, I'm assuming it takes a picture of your license plate and they're just gonna
Oh
look you
yeah.
up and send you a bill in the mail or something like that. I'm curious because I just ran through all that.
No, Dan, I was the same
It
way.
says something about penalties. I'm not really sure.
Wait, did you drive through any gates? Like, were there any gates down and you just sent it?
Maybe,
Dan, I agree with you. We went through that
when he
a
pulled
few years
in.
back. We drove through Colorado, and
yeah,
like we just drove through all these toll roads, and I'm like, aren't we supposed to stop or something? I can't believe we're getting through this. And then like 2 weeks
right,
later, we
yeah.
get this bill in the mail. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
there it is.
I'm just curious what that's going to cost me because, like, I swear I drove through like 20 of those things. So I'm just curious what that's going to cost me.
Should have just bought a plane ticket, Dan.
Yeah, right. Like, what the heck, AJ? Let a man know.
Yeah, so on that part, I'm not necessarily a pro in that part. I know
Yeah.
somewhat of the logistics of how that works. So you're right; they do have cameras. They're pretty quick and they're pretty clean. Like I've personally seen like the audits where someone runs it, or let's say transponder doesn't register correctly. They legit have one on the windshield, and it just
Yeah.
didn't register to take a picture of the plate, and the pictures are pretty clear
Yeah.
regardless what speed you're going through. So depending on the agency that took those pictures, more than likely they're going to look up your tag, look to see where you live, and they're going to mail you
Okay.
something, a
All right.
bill.
Well, I'll just
Yeah.
expect something in the mail then.
So, Manny, what kind
Oh,
of
gosh.
gear do you support, and what are the locations like? Are you supporting office buildings? Are you actually supporting those buildings on the toll roads? What's that like?
So it's a mixture.
Okay.
There are currently other divisions that I work alongside with, like some one division deals with purely the tolling equipment. The other division strictly deals with the fiber and the cameras along the highways and turnpikes. Um, so my footprint, the network that I manage is basically our campuses and some remote offices and tech shops. We have different tech shops. Like we have one, for example, like in Tampa, where there's just techs there that it's kind of like their remote hub or headquarters. So if they need to go out fix something at a plaza, um, they have all their tools there. They have these durable laptops, and to get all their stuff, and they'll go.
And is it a
Wow,
big
very cool.
team that's supporting this with you, or you kind of by yourself? How's that look?
Yeah, my team is particularly small. The team that directly deals with the tolling equipment, they're much bigger. My team, so on the network side, I'm one of two. There's my senior and
Yeah, that's
myself,
not very big.
and yeah,
No,
Yeah.
no.
yeah, it's not very big. On the server side, there's two of us. There's my boy Jay and my other coworker Michael. Um, and the way how we're kind of structured, we're like per site. So my senior and I, as well as my other senior Jay, we're in the Orlando campus, and then Michael and some of our other team members, they're in our Pompano campus. Those are our two biggest campuses, and then we have one other newer site that came up that may come up in the news at some point, and and then from there, those are pretty much our headquarters. And then we do have a footprint in Boca, but with our team, since it's so niche and small, um, you know, for example, Michael really supports the South, but for some reason, if let's say I need to go down there, or my senior needs to go down there, or Jenny needs to go down there for any reason, or we have a big project, we'll put in a request with the state, and we'll commute over there to get whatever job done.
Okay.
Very cool.
Now, is your team, are they all contractors?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys are like a group of contractors working on this together.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. And there are a lot of the other districts, the makeup of my district, it's like more contractor heavy versus state employee.
Mm.
And other districts, they're more state employee than contractor. Ours, like, I forgot what it is that makes it up that way, but it's very contractor heavy, and I believe that has to do with the construction. A lot of the
Mhm.
construction companies, they're pulled in by the state, with contracts. So in the IT side, a lot of us are a contractor, and our upper management, they're all state employees, pretty much.
Okay.
Now you're a Jersey guy. How did you end up in Orlando?
Yeah, right. So yeah, I'm Jersey born and raised. I come from Elizabeth, New Jersey. It's south of Newark. Um, Long story short, in high school, I want a different change of pace, and IT wasn't really my career path back then. I was, truth be told, I was thinking more business and music production,
Okay.
and as some of you may know, New York and New Jersey, that has a faster pace of life up there, and without getting too specifics on my life, I was like, you know what, I kind of want to just relax and stay out of trouble. And so, more of my family's kind of started migrating from New Jersey, New York to down here. So I ended up moving down here. And that was in
Gotcha.
2006, and I've been here ever since.
So you wanted a slower pace, and yet yesterday you went outside and found a chicken in your garage.
You should have moved to
Yeah,
Tennessee, man.
I am convinced, and that tweet on Twitter has been blowing up. Everyone and
it's
their
huge.
mother has been tweeting and retweeting it. I'm convinced that one of my neighbors is housing chickens and other animals. Like, we had this one HOA rep here that every week she was here taking photos and sending letters and emails and stuff like that. And she left, and it's been radio silent. It's been peaceful. Because I'm proud to say this neighborhood is very clean, and we all do our stuff. We don't have any troublemakers. The only troublemaker we had was one of my neighbors turned their house into an Airbnb, and that turned into a party house over the summer, where it got shut down by cops repeatedly, to the point where HOA and cops got involved.
HOA doesn't like that.
But
No.
yeah, so it got really quiet since that one rep left, and I haven't seen or heard from him ever since. And now all of a sudden, I was doing deadlifts, and all of a sudden I see a chicken just come up my bench. I'm like, "What are you doing here?"
I guarantee
Don't
you
see that every
that
day.
HOA rep saw your tweet and they'll be back.
Yeah. That chicken was probably thinking the same thing, though.
Chicken's thinking, what's this
Leg
guy
day.
doing in my house?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he was like, just walking around looking for food. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? What is this?
Get out of
So like you saw it on my bench. It would not leave my bench, and I had to lure it away with some water.
here.
And I made like a little puddle in my driveway. I was like, here, come on, and then started drinking the water. Then it bounced. Then it went to my neighbor's yard.
Okay, now it's their problem,
Wow.
right?
Right.
Nice.
So where did the interest in IT come from? Did that start, before you left Jersey, before you got to Florida? How'd you get into IT?
So I've been the family geek for as long as I can remember. My interest in tech kind of started with the Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I had the Nintendo due to my dad, and
Wait.
I
Which
consider
Nintendo?
the NES,
Okay,
the little
all
gray
right,
box,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I even had like that one robot that requires so many batteries, and and it's like a player too. I forgot the name of it, but I've had that.
Was that the Nintendo where you had to like blow the air out of the game
Yes.
to get it working? Yeah.
I mean that was several of them, right?
That was a scientific
It's like
function.
the one on the shelf there behind Dan.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, you
this
got one right there,
This
AJ.
one right here. But
Yeah. Yeah, and quick funny story with that. As a kid, I used to get pissed off trying to play a Nintendo game because blowing to the cartridge, I could never get it to work. So I would ask my grandmother. We call her Mama. I'm like, Mama, like, can you get this to work? So she'd be like, she'll do like nothing. She's like, done, works. Meanwhile, I'm struggling. I'm like, come on, I want to play Mario. What the hell? So it started with that. My grandfather gifted me a Sega Genesis. That's when I first, played Sonic, and ever since then, I was just kind of drawn to tech. And when I got my first computer, it was, I think it was originally my dad's, and he had it dual booted of MS DOS for a lot of like retro games, and I believe it was the Windows 95. And I remember one Saturday, I saw like that was back when Microsoft was still sending like those big instruction manuals for Windows, and I just breezed through it because I remember seeing Distant Fragmenter. And I was like, "Oh, what is that? Does that garble up the computer or something?" And I started like reading through it, and ever since then, I just been stuck with IT. Like I've fallen in love with it over the years. Ever since then.
So what was the break-in point for you? How did you take it from like this interest to a career?
Kind of like a common theme is, I started like repairing computers for family members. I started tinkering with the idea of like, okay, I want to, I want to build my own computer. Um, when I was in high school, I had like one of those Sony Vaio desktops, and it was like, one of my great aunts gifted it to me, and it had like 512 megs on it, and it could go up to 2 gigs. So I'm like, okay, I never took out stick of RAM before. Let me figure out how to do that. Um, and then from there, I learned about, oh yeah, you could build your own computer, and servers are these really bulky, like powerful machines, and I want to get into that. And that's where it went from an interest to going to college. Now there's a funny story with college. So back to I wanted to deal with music production and business. My parents would be like, okay, what do you want to study? And I was like, I would like to do, business. I want to start my own business, and I also want to do music production. My mom shut that down quick. She's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Smart
I'm
lady.
like, why not? I'm like, no, there's too many of them out there. You're good at IT. Stick with what you know. Stick with what you're good at.
Nice.
I'll help you.
Nice.
You go to college with that. After that, when you make your own money doing an IT, then you do what you want. I was so pissed, but you know what? I'm grateful for her that she did that, because that's where I eventually fell in love with network engineering.
Sweet. So what was that first IT job? How'd you break in?
So it was originally my first job was at a Target out here. I was a grocer. I quickly moved up to a sampling specialist. So if you ever go into like a Super Target or Target and they have like those sampling ladies with the food, I think they still do that in BJ's and Costco. I was their boss. And
okay.
yeah, and then I was a young guy, and much to everyone's similar story, I didn't get a computer programming concentration. There was actually an IT one. And once I saw programming, I was like, nope, pineapples, nope, give me that one. And after that point, I'm like, I need to get a job in this. So I spoke to my boss, and I was like, look, I'm a young guy, don't have a family, and I want to get another job. And Best Buy is hiring. I want to I want to get my foot in the door one way or another. I don't know how to get into, and I don't know how to get into IT, because at that time, there were, I mean, much like now, they want all these you know qualities and qualifications and stuff. So I was like, look, is there a conflict of interest if I get a second job? And like, no, it's fine. We both sell computers, but that's all they do, and we do with home goods and food and all other stuff. You're fine. Just, if you get hired, just give me a schedule. We'll work it out. That went up in smoke. they had like a little turf war over me, and yeah,
everybody wants a piece of Manny.
Yeah, and
can you blame him?
Nope.
and I'll never forget my interview at Best Buy. So I had applied to be a computer sales rep, and in that interview, the interviewer stopped. He was like, "Wait a minute, we don't have to talk anymore." I'm like, "Why? What happened?" Like, I think you'd be great for this role, but I would be selfish in keeping you. You'll be better at Geek Squad. Let me stay right here. Let me go talk to that boss. And that's where I immediately got an interview at Geek Squad. And I went to like 3 interviews and I got hired. I got hired as a seasonal. So that's when I told my boss at Target. And that boss at the time was like, "Hey, we can work whatever schedule you want, but Sundays, I mainly need you like all day." And at Target, I had a set schedule. I was working mornings all week. And so that's when I flipped it. And that's when my Target manager's like, "No, no, it's what I say, not what they say." And I had to leave. And much like in the biker community, I was marked as out bad. I got out on bad terms. But then I grew within Geek Squad, and I was there. Short story with that, I got promoted a couple times. My last role was I was a Geek Squad covert fulfillment agent. The short summary of that, I was a work from home agent, and I was one of the Geek Squad agents where I would remote into your computer, fix whatever issue you put in the ticket, and I would expand on that. Um, and it I, at some point when I get my blog up and running, there's kind of like a little love letter to the Geek Squad that I want to dedicate in a blog, because that's where I got a lot of my foundational A plus knowledge.
Nice.
And that's where my journey kind of started right before I fell in love with
I
networking.
want to talk about that a
That's
minute,
awesome.
Manny, because we talk to a lot of people in the industry that start in like an enterprise help desk, desktop support role. So you did that, but more on the what I'll call residential or the consumer space.
Yeah.
Is that much
Not
different
for
than
like a
enterprise
company,
support,
basically.
or what was that like for you?
That if I could put in a few words, that's like working at the bleeding edge 24/7. Um the beauty of it, however, in my opinion, for any hiring manager, is the fact that me or any Geek Squad agent, like, we're exposed to change immediately. Like, for example, when Windows 8 came out, we had to go through all these trainings, and we had to know the knows how on clean installing it, upgrading it. Um, Same thing with Windows 10. um like any new software, much like an enterprise where there's a life cycle and there's a progressive plan to get to new versions. No, everything was bleeding edge with our clients, bleeding edge. And and so yeah, it was like a rapid pace. So when I finally got to the enterprise side, after I think I've been in Geek Squad for like 6 years, um it was a breath of fresh air. It's like, okay, I can handle this. I was dealing with bleeding edge with a broad spectrum of ages and groups.
That's a really good point and something I didn't think about right away because, yeah, enterprises will bring in new technology, but consumers go and get it right away. They want the new stuff right away. Businesses will typically, hang back a little bit when they get budget, when they things have kind of gotten burned in a little bit and they feel more comfortable with it. But at consumers, they're going out and getting the new stuff right away. So yeah, you're getting exposed to that right away.
Right.
What's the
Absolutely.
craziest thing you ever saw on a customer's computer?
Oh my God, there's so many. There's a tie. There's a tie of 3. 2 are funny, 1 isn't. So I once found a snake inside of a computer. The more disgusting side, I saw roaches in
Cool.
a client's computer. Yeah. When
Cool.
that happens, we need evidence or whatever, and we have to bag it. And the messed up part of it is, like, once that happens, your warranty is gone,
Mhm.
because it's infested. Like, no one's gonna touch that. Um, Even if we don't visibly see it, and let's say we gotta send it elsewhere for repair, whether it's like a TV or a laptop, computer, whatever, and they crack open that case and they see roaches breeding or live or dead, and they're like, yeah, that's infested. We can't touch that. Um, the sad, serious part is, I've been exposed to more my peer, but I actually witnessed it happen where, let's just say there was like, we're allowed to, if something is out in the open that's suspect that we need to report to the authorities, like, then yeah, we can report it, because at Geek Squad we're not allowed to look at any of your files. We could get terminated like that for having our phone on us or for looking at your stuff. Um, but if we see something that, for example, let's say it's on the desktop, and in this case it was their wallpaper, we can report to our management and then to the authorities. So there was a case of that, and yeah, cops raided his house.
That's a shame.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's good to hear both sides of that, right? Like, it's good to hear that they're so strong on protecting your privacy, right? Like, everybody's entire life is digital these days, and you're turning over your laptop, computer, whatever it is, to get serviced by somebody. So it's good to know that, like, they take that so seriously. But at the same time, like, if it's criminal and it's out in the open, you're not snooping for it. You found it. If somebody's silly enough to put something criminal on their desktop, where anybody can see it as soon as you power on the device, that shame on them, I guess. But it's good to know there's that open window of opportunity. Like, they're doing something wrong. This isn't cool. Got to report them to the authorities.
Yeah, and much like in any organization, there's good apples, there's bad apples. There's been reports of bad apples of Geek Squad agents not doing their job accordingly, where Best Buy Geek Squad, they get sued. But in the precinct, that is what we call our departments, the precinct that I worked at, and a lot of the precincts that I've also visited in Central Florida, none of them have ever gone like that. All the management has been pretty much spot on, where yeah, they uphold their values, and that's the biggest thing that kept me at Geek Squad for as long as it did, for the different roles I've been in. Because I started as a consultation agent, which is basically the agent that's in the front, and I worked on my way to the back where I was repairing computers to working at home. Like, they were very big on culture, and from starting from the founder to to today, they're very big on that, and they're also big on rules and regulations, while also having fun.
Mm-hmm.
So how long were you there for?
You stole my question, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, it was about, between all the positions, I think it's about 6 years.
Okay, all right.
What did you like better?
And
did you like being at the stores, going through actual people's gear? Or did you like the remote side better?
I like the stores a bit more just because of that social interaction. Like, working remote, we had the interaction where, we had Skype for Business, and we have different chats for different districts. And, we were talking there all day, every day. It didn't have to be like work related. We'll just talk to kind of keep each other, sane. Um, my Geek Squad manager would have weekly meetings with us, and he'll have one-on-one meetings with us where we check in. Um, However, I did love the convenience of work from home. That was my first ever exposure to work from home. That was my first ever exposure to Meraki, because at the time, like, they would ship you earlier Geek Squad agents, they would get like a laptop. Then they started sending like a very mini HP or Dell unit with 2 monitors, and then they'll also send you a Meraki secure gateway. And I was like, oh, Cisco, hold on, wait a minute,
what's this?
I will say the one thing that turned me off by work from home was not the job, but the fact that it was very metric based. Like, I had to get so many repairs done in a small amount of time. And me, I'm more of a Q&A guy. And so on my team, whether I was in person or especially remote, I was the big player of like getting good surveys. Like, 9 out of 10 times I will have a perfect score within a month, or I would have just one grumpy person. But like, that was my biggest thing. But with that, I say to this day, even in the network engineering field, I love what I do. I love my craft. And with that, you know I remember you guys saying it, if you work on something, you put your name on it, you want it to be like, like gold, like, yeah, I certified, this is beautiful. So it's the same thing with that. So with that, I would take a little more time. So when they started kind of cracking down, when they got more strict on the metrics, that's where my sanity started to kind of plummet. And that's where like, okay, I need a different environment to get into.
How'd you get into Geek Squad? Is that a hard gig? Like, because you mentioned college too, right? Like, did that play into it all getting the job?
It definitely played as far as the interview. Like, okay, this interviewer, he's in college for IT.
Mm.
They do expect you to know something. Like they don't expect you to like be off, off of rip to have an A+, but they expect you to like either be working towards it or have some A+ knowledge. So there is a little bit of a gate that you kind of have to get over, because the beauty about them, there's always trainings, and what you don't know, they'll help you learn. Especially like the A+ level stuff. And that's one thing that I pride myself with Geek Squad, where I didn't really study for my A+. Like I learned all my stuff there. I glanced over a book, and one day I was like, you know what, I'm gonna attempt it. And I booked both exams on the same day, and I passed it on one try.
Did you have your A
Oh,
plus before Geek Squad, or you got it there?
I got it there.
Okay. Because this is, I
Hmm.
think it's a first where somebody's first tech job was like in a retail, Geek Squad's the first time I've heard it. I love people's origin stories, right? Like how they got in, because it's hard to
Right.
get in, and that's a new way, right? It's the first time I've heard this. Like, oh yeah, Geek Squad. Are they still around? Can you still get like support from Best Buy?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, they still go to the house. They're still remote. Um, yeah, they're still in stores. So yeah, they're definitely around.
that's awesome. New way to get into tech. It's good
Hmm.
to share.
So this was all
Yeah,
still in
definitely.
Jersey, right?
Oh no, this
This
is in
is in
Florida.
Florida. Okay, so did you
Hmm.
go straight from Geek Squad to the contractor you're with now?
Yes.
Okay.
And that in itself was a journey, because I kind of learned, for some employers it was kind of a bad thing that for their perception I worked in the bleeding edge for so long, because of the fact that enterprises are structured, software, hardware, they're kind of scaled back, and working the bleeding edge, you kind of have that perception like, okay, he's you know Manny's kind of working in no man's land. He as long as he could get it to work, there's no structure, but that's not really the case. um so yeah, getting back to your question, I went from that's when I hit my low point, where I felt stuck. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, and if I may, I'll also give another piece with it, because it also goes with good management. So one point, my former manager, his name was Ryan Heller, he had a meeting with all of us. He's like, hey, so I want to have a deeper meaning conversation with you guys. What do you guys want? Where do you guys see yourself next 5 years, 10 years? When it came to me, I was like, I want to be a network engineer. And he's like, okay, like, all right, now I'm gonna have meetings with each and every one of you to figure out your career path. So at that point, he's like, okay, well, unfortunately, there's not really much of that here, but I
Mhm.
can help guide you in the right direction. So you can, unfortunately, I'll have to lose you at some point, which is a loss to me in Geek Squad, but it's for you, and that's what's more important. And that's where we
That's
both
good
agree, like,
management
yeah,
right there.
yeah, yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
And
awesome,
that's
dude.
where the I was already working on my CCNA, much like several others, and like you, Andy. I got my first exposure to Cisco Network Academy in
Mm.
college.
Mm.
I'll never forget my instructor. She was a CCIE, and also certified Cisco instructor. Um, and the way how she just taught subnetting and VSLM and everything, it was beautiful. It was like listening to classical music, and she's just writing everything on the board. And
Wow.
all of our tables had a stack of routers and switches, and I, just to shine some light on the home lab stuff, like she emphasized that, like, okay, yeah, this is, while maybe not current grade, this is what you can expect in the field
Mm.
when you get your first gig: routers and switches, the cabling, the fiber, etc. Um, and yeah, from there, I getting back to the story, I hit my moot point, where it was hard to kind of land a gig at enterprise, because I was kind of labeled as the renegade, because I was working the bleeding edge.
Mm.
Until finally, one of my good friends, Joel, he managed to get at the current organization I'm at as a contractor, and he put in a good word for me, and I managed to join the team as workstation support.
So
Gotcha.
where? Where in the timeline were you studying for your CCNA? Were you at Geek Squad?
Yes.
Okay, so you're at Geek Squad, you're doing that, you're studying for the CCNA, through Cisco Networking Academy. Why was that part of your IT program? Like, why would you just start studying for the CCNA? Did somebody tell you about it?
Good question. So at that point, when I was at Geek Squad with my current IT degree program, a light bulb hit on my head. I was like, okay, I'm almost done with this degree when I'm at Geek Squad. I kind of feel like this degree is useless, and now I want to get into network engineering. And I spoke to my guidance counselor. She was like, hey, so this is what we can do. You can do programming. I was like, nope, don't want to go anywhere near that.
Oh man.
You and interesting, but I don't want to touch it. Server administration, cool. And the thing I liked about her is that she went into depth, like, okay, this is what you expect in the real world. And then she had network engineering. It was like, tell me about that. Yeah, you'll be kind of the plumber of enterprise, networks. You'll set up routers and switches, the cabling. Fiber optics is a big thing now. We have classes for that too. We get some exposure. Um, you run anything with a network. I was like, sold. I want that. And that's where
basically be the Mario of networking.
Yeah, basically.
Nice. I love
it. And so that's where I got. I did a couple of prereqs. Well, a lot of my prereqs carried over. Like I had like a Net Plus prereq that carried over, and then I had like three courses of CCNA Cisco Network Academy courses. And in the syllabus, I remember it like it was yesterday. They were like, "Yeah, you can pass this. Either you get like a passing grade on the final, or you go out and get your CCNA. And alternatively, if you pass all three courses, we give you a certificate so you can go get your CCNA." After that first class with that amazing instructor, I was like, okay, I kind of want to stop school, study this by myself, and that's exactly what I did.
It's a hell of a guidance counselor.
Yeah, no kidding. And I gotta meet this instructor too. I've never heard anybody equate learning subnetting to classical music.
Right.
Is that would that be like the flight of the bumblebee, or because that's what I would think of.
That's gonna be stuck in my head now.
Yeah. That woman was amazing. Like she'll go into all like CCNA level like protocol. Like she went into RIP and EIGRP, static routes. The subnetting part was where there was a guy at Best Buy at the time that coincidentally he was in my class, and he was like, "Bro, do you understand anything she's saying?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's really hard." like that's when I got my first frustration with subnetting. But like the way how she explained it, it made sense, but it was just so much information where I felt like my head was gonna explode.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'll never forget that instructor. She was amazing.
So when you got your CCNA, you started interviewing, right?
Yeah.
You're at Geek Squad, and you mentioned it a couple times, and so you said you were having a hard time, and you think it was because you were on the bleeding edge. So
Right.
can you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, you were working
So
on like you're working on home PCs and stuff, right? Like, is that what Geek Squad does? Kind of work on
yeah,
consumer electronics.
right. So I bring that up because on I had a few interviews, and the hiring manager was like, "Hey, you have great technical knowledge. You have good experience. Your experience at Geek Squad is solid. However, we don't know how your experience at basically this bleeding edge, where you install whatever, how that's going to equate to enterprise level, because at enterprise you're not allowed to just install anything, especially something that's like just came out like the next day." And I told him like, "Hey, I understand that. I
Right.
have structure, but you got to understand in my workflow, this is what I got to deal with. A client says, 'Hey, I want to solve a new version of QuickBooks.' Guess what I'm doing?"
Yeah.
Right.
Do they have change management at Geek Squad? Is that
Nope, none of
basically what
that.
they were asking you?
Right? Yeah.
It's just surprising to me because if I was interviewing you at the time, like you have all this technical knowledge, you're going
Yeah.
after a degree, you have or you're working on your CCNA, like it's not that far of a jump to have you come, work on routers and switches. So it's
I agree.
just
Yeah.
surprising to hear that from, did you have a bunch of interviews? Like, were you having a hard time in a couple different places? You know,
Yeah.
do you think it was your lack of experience on a production network, and they were just trying to be like, hey, man, you know, you're too much of a rebel, you know, instead of telling you like you don't have the experience.
You're a cowboy.
Well, right, because what I hear a lot, and for me too, it was like you've never worked in a production network. You know, CCNA is great, but you haven't done this job, and now you're asking me, you know, if you could do this job here. Like, and I don't hear that from you, so maybe you didn't run into that. Maybe people didn't throw your lack of experience in your face like they did to me. You know.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty much that where like, okay, yeah, you have a ton of IT experience, but you don't have any experience in a enterprise environment.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
and
different.
at that time, yeah, and at the time, I wasn't trying to get a network role. I was trying to get a workstation role so I can build up to a network role.
I
Okay.
gotcha.
Is that like
And
help desk, like workstation? Is that what?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
workstation.
like a
Gotcha.
desktop
Okay.
support or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And finally when, you know, I interviewed and the guy who interviewed me, it was my former manager and my former supervisor, and him and I are good friends. His name is Jared. He's one of those technical interviewers where he'll basically try to make you cry. Like this
Oh,
guy
no.
will he's brutal.
I think I had that
Um,
interview.
Look, if I was in there, I'd just melt. I'd be like,
So are they just trying to like stump the chump really hard, crazy stuff? Like, is that what you mean by make you cry? Just making it really tough on you?
yeah, like he'll grill you on the technical, but his main expertise, I would say, is like, you know, he loves to weed out the BSers.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
okay.
he's one of those where like, hey, it's okay if you don't know something, tell me, but don't lie about it,
Yeah.
because if you lie about something that I know about, I'm gonna see how far you dig that hole,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
and then I'm gonna bury you in it.
It's the give them enough rope to hang themselves, basically, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you know, I'll never forget that panel interview. It was my first time having a panel interview,
Hmm.
and it was good. And honestly, you know, I give my hats off to this channel because my soft skills that I've obtained at Geek Squad, that played a big part in hiring me, and my technical expertise helped. And they definitely saw my lack of enterprise level expertise, like, you know, change management, ticket systems. Like, ticket system at Geek Squad was custom. We didn't have anything, you know, like Unicenter, Sharewell, etc. It was all custom. And you know, imaging, I never did imaging at that point. I did cloning. Um, so they definitely saw, okay, there's a stark contrast, but he's teachable.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
take him. Yeah.
So give us and the listeners some advice, Manny. How did you handle those first interviews when you were trying to break into the enterprise space? How did you prepare for them?
I definitely brushed up on the A+ stuff just in case, you know, they brutalize me with that. Soft skills definitely play a big part. Don't BS anything I interview. If you simply don't know about it, whether this is a networking interview or help desk, workstation support, servers, don't BS anything. 9 out of 10 times you're going to be in a room with someone who's a pro in that, and you know, not going to be a good look. Be honest. Um, and you know, brush up, do your research on the company. That's the best advice I can say. And I do have another share of advice as far as getting into your first networking gig, if you'd like me to share that as well.
Definitely.
Well,
Hit us
heck
with it.
yeah. Spill it,
Okay.
man.
So so I finished studying for my CCNA while I was on the workstation role at my current organization. I did that on the side. And I give kudos to Jared as well, because he was another one that would coach me like, okay, what are you trying to do? And maybe we could kind of frame this as advice to the listeners as well, as like, master your craft before you move on to something else. And that was my big thing. So I didn't, like, while studying my CCNA, I was also making sure like I got really good at my role before I can kind of show management interest. Like, okay, I'm ready to grow. I'm ready for something else. So leading on to the next part, when before I got my CCNA, I went to my former boss. His name is Aaron, and I asked him like, "Hey, can I talk with you?" And he's like, "Sure." So we had lunch together, and he's like, "All right, talk to me, Manny. What's up? I want to be in your team. What do you want me to do? What do I got to do so you can see me and so you can interview me when you have a spot that opens up?"
Hmm.
So he's like, "Okay." what are you doing? I was like, I'm studying for my CCNA. I sit for my CCNA 1 at the time. It was, I think, a few weeks out. I'm taking the 2 exam path. And then from there, down the road, I want to go for my CCNP. That's what I'm doing. I have a home lab, and that's what I'm doing. He's like, good. He gave me like an informal interview at that point, and he was like, okay, good. I like where your head is at. Now, like you said, I don't have anything going, open, but the fact that you show interest and you are already working towards that, I like and I appreciate that. Now, when you get your CCNA, then come talk to me. Got my CCNA. I waited like a month or two, and then afterwards, I started kind of dropping hints, and not. I started kind of dropping hints around the job, and then I went to him. I was like, "Hey, I got my CCNA. What's up?" So he's like, "Okay, nothing is open, but I got you." At that point, earlier in this call, I mentioned like I work with other divisions in the state of Florida. We all support the same stuff. We're different departments, different divisions. Another division took notice of that and was like, I want him. Let's sit down. And that interview, it almost felt like a gang initiation because
I gotta stay away from Florida, man. I don't think I would fare well.
You got to stay away from North Jersey. You're all right in Florida.
So the reason why I say that, and this is another piece of advice, I wore a suit. I came to work wearing a suit. And they reserved the conference room. They're like, all right, meet us at this conference room at this time. So always came early. So I sent him a message like, hey, I'm here. So his number 2 head network guy he pulled me aside like, okay, let's go. As I'm walking over there, there's like a line of network engineers on the way to the conference room. And I'm like, what the hell is this? and so he takes me to the front. He goes, all right, guys, this is Manny. Like, oh yeah, yeah, we know Manny. Like, we hear so many good things about him everywhere. Like, okay, cool. So he's sitting down with him. Okay, we have good feelings about this. And then the guy who's over the number 2 guy came up and was like, hey, thank you for waiting. I feel like he purposely made me wait. He was running late, but I felt like he purposely made me wait to make me sweat.
Yeah.
And long story short, it was similar to the informal interview, but he asked me some technical questions, and he had asked me what I'm doing, and he asked me like, what do I have? And I was like, all right, I got my CCNA. And he's like, okay, what are you trying to do after your CCNA? Or are you stopping there? I was like, no, I want my CCNP. I'm not stopping. Why not? And he's like, okay, are you only familiar with Cisco? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, we work with X platform. I was like, okay, I'll look on eBay to see if I can find that switch and learn it. And at the end of it, he was like, okay, I'm impressed. And I'm also impressed because you started studying your CCNA around the same time as one of my other guys, and he still doesn't have it.
Ooh.
And you show me that you're hungry, and that you're learning. Like, you may not have the full knowledge of someone experienced, but you got your CCNA, you have a good foundation, and that was it. And what was told to me after that was like, he went to his boss. He goes, listen, I want Manny. Like, give me the green light. I want him on my team. I don't care what you got to do. And at that point, my former infrastructure manager came up just in the nick of time. Was like, we have a position. You want to apply for it? And that's how I ended up in my role.
So it was actually the position that your internal manager was talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
He became a hot commodity real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I do want to highlight something that you did, the way you carried yourself when you went initially to ask for help. And I really respect this, because when you get to a point where you feel like you can mentor people and help people out, you want to help people out, but you only have so much time, right? So you want to make sure that you're helping the people that really want to be helped, that are really going to try to help themselves. And when you went to ask for advice, you had already done some homework. You had already kind of looked up and seen what you need to do, so that when you went and asked and you got questions back saying, well, what are you already doing? You had an answer for them right away. And I'm sure that stuck with that manager at that time. And it just shows that you're willing to help yourself, and that makes people want to invest back into you. So I really respect that, and I would give that advice to anybody listening, that yes, it's fine to ask for help, and yes, you should always ask for help, but be willing to put in the time yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's the saying? The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's the future look like? What are you currently working on? What do you think's in the future for you? What's your plans?
So my evil plan. Yes. As you guys know, well, on social media, I'm working on my CCNP Encore's been kicking my butt, but I definitely intend on passing that pretty soon. After that, I'm torn between NRC and salad, but I think I may do in salad because I really want to learn the why before configuring the how. I feel like that'll help my network engineering journey. So CCNP is a big goal, and my current boss, Tom, like, he praises me all the time, and pushes me, like, he tells me all the time, like, Manny, like, I love the fact that you're always learning, and if you don't know something, like, you learn about it pretty quick. He loves the fact that I have a rack in here. And after that, I know Cisco's not the only fish in the sea. I do want to learn some Juniper. They've been, kind of, blowing up in the social space, and especially in the service provider environment. I know they have a good foothold there. I currently deal with a lot of Aruba equipment.
Okay.
And I do want to learn ICE and ClearPass, which is Aruba's appliance. See how they kind of stack against each other. That's pretty much my goal. And I want to make myself more of an asset, to my leader Tom, to my team. I want to grow as a network engineer, earning that title. I know titles are, just titles. Anyone can just slap on network engineer title, and job duties can be, nothing, or they could be everything. But earning that title and having the work behind the title is my goal. That's like that having that title and working towards it, that that keeps me hungry day in, day out. And I love the new Cisco curriculum, how it's structured. Yeah, it's definitely structured pretty well. And um yeah, that's pretty much my goal. I don't know if I'll go for CCIE anytime soon. I think maybe if I do go that route, I don't know what I will do. I think if I seriously tackle it, maybe by my 40s. Right now I'm 32 for contrast. I do want to master the professional level before I go into that big massive pool that is CCIE, let alone all the stress behind it.
The CCIE is nothing to rush.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in my 40s, especially with my goal of having more and more experience in this field, I think I would love to possibly tackle that monster.
Nice. Well, Manny, I feel like we could talk to you.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, I was just going to point out, Andy, I did not ask him how old he was. He volunteered that.
You only ask girls how old they are, Dan.
Yeah, only
that's your thing.
Hang on, let me check and see if he put it in the chat. And Manny just read it. No.
Nice. Manny, I feel like we could talk all night long, but unfortunately we do have to wrap it up. Any last minute thoughts you want to share either with us or the audience? Last minute tidbits?
Stay hungry, stay motivated. If you need a mentor, look for one. Andy, I know you mentioned all the time about mentors.
Do you have a mentor?
I did.
Okay.
I had a few. My senior was one of them.
And honestly, even without having a formal mentor, it seems like in your story you've had people show up in your life that really made a difference.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it was your mom saying, no, do not do that, do this. Like, that was a really smart move. The guidance counselor, you know, a couple good managers in your life. So maybe we have mentors along the way and they're just not official, you know, mentors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having, whether it's an official mentor or someone to guide you along the path, whether it's a friend, you know, your wife, your husband, you know, management, your peers. I'm constantly pushing my peers on the workstation support role. Like, hey, if you know, once you master your role, if you're interested in anything, learn it, grow. You know, don't get comfortable. Um, call it? Yeah, and that's another thing. Don't get comfortable. Always grow. Um, Network in order to get into the network. You know, kind of circling back to when I spoke to my former boss. Um, that alone pays dividends as far as networking within your own org, especially if they encourage growth. Definitely always look into that and in the culture in your organization. You know, I'm blessed to have the manager I have now and my previous manager, as well as, you know, my friend who was my former supervisor. Yeah, having a mentor, just someone to push you, like, hey, just keep going, even if you fail. Um, that that seriously just pays dividends to your career and your development. Yeah, and just never stop.
Yeah, I love the move that you made. You know, you went and you sought out the networking manager, and you're just like, I want to be on your team. You know, you made your intentions very clear, and that speaks volumes, man. Like as a manager, if that doesn't grab you, you know, you when you have a position open, you got to find somebody to put in the slot. But if somebody's going to come knock on my door and be like, I want to be on your team, hey, if that doesn't put you at the front of the line, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially the way you did it, right? Like you were like, "Hey, what do I got to do to fill this position?" You know, you didn't just say like, "Hey, I just want this job." You were like, "Let me know what I got to do so that I can fit, you know, your job description basically." So,
Right.
And we've heard that time and time again. You have to ask for what you want.
yeah.
Right.
And people who do find it, you know.
Right. And accountability for that is everything, because you know it's one thing that you say you're gonna do something, but it's another when you actually do it and follow up. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I said I was gonna do my CCNA. Bam, here it is.
Yep.
Another piece. Sorry if I ramble, but another piece that I'll add. Um, always try to get a good rapport in your job. Um, if my coworkers hear this podcast, which I'm sure they will, I have an infamous name that is the Golden Boy. I have a glowing um, rapport with not just my peers but upper management.
Okay.
Are you a kiss ass, Manny?
I was waiting for it. I was...
Not at all.
If you get along with upper management, I hate to tell you, you're a kiss ass.
Yeah, no, not
or
at all.
Or you're just in a good culture. It could be that.
Yeah, I would say I'm in a good culture because because you know I'm not afraid to say I've argued with former managers before where you know it would get like pretty like heated.
Sure.
In my org, I'm happy and blessed that I haven't gotten to that point with any management. But yeah, like I say, you know, definitely try to maintain a good rapport, because when your name has a good reputation tied to it, your name gets spoken about in rooms that you're not sitting in. And your name travels. And when it comes to like, you know, growth in positions, upper management will like, okay, well, what is this guy doing? What is this girl doing? Like, you know, maybe we should develop them for that role. You know, that alone pays dividends without even you realizing it.
Plus, nobody wants to see Jersey Manny come out.
Yeah, I have a horrible temper. You know, like the movie Shrek. I'm like an ogre. I have layers.
Oh, I love it.
Manny, I just
All right, Manny.
I want to thank you for being a real community champion. You're the community hype man. When somebody has something that they're doing well, they post a win, you're one of the first people that's always there to congratulate them. You have a fantastic positive attitude. It's already taken you far. It's going to take you further. Thank you for being such a big member of the community and just being a cool guy. So thank you, and thank you for spending the time with us this evening.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and thank you for the kind words, Tim. I appreciate it. You know, it's the support that I give out. It's something that I wish I had when I was going through my journey.
Yes.
You know, I've had friends that studied the network stuff and they dropped out. You know, I've always been like the lone wolf with the network stuff. Everyone else wants to, jump into music, jump into business, maybe jump into programming. And I'm the lone wolf. Like, okay, well, I want to mess with routers and switches. What about me? And so I try to give out that support that I would have wanted coming up.
That's so cool.
Yeah. When I met my senior, like, I was like, oh my God, there's a network engineer here. Yes, show me the way. So yeah, like, thank you for the kind words, and it's something that I love to reciprocate with, my friends now, the community that you guys, have created. I love it, and even with my peers at work, like a couple of my peers that are interested in networking, I try to show them on the side and try to guide them. Like, here, study this, etc. And again, it's something I would have loved to have that would have paid serious dividends, and it's something I will just keep going forth. I love developing and growing people and pushing them forward.
All right, Manny, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
All right, so I'm on Instagram and Twitter as MannyBites88.
Manny Bites.
I originally had, I originally had Manny Bites without the 88, but someone made a page and left it blank. So I was like, okay, that feels like self-sabotage. All right.
That's exactly.
But yeah, Manny Bites. Yeah, Manny Bites. Yeah, Manny Bites 88 on Instagram and Twitter. I have a LinkedIn. I'll give to you for that to the show notes. We can connect there. I'm pretty active on both Instagram and Twitter. So yeah, shoot me a message. We'll connect.
Now, did you mention a possible blog coming up?
Yeah. So the blog, I will keep it with my same name. I have a couple blog entries drafted up. I haven't completed the layout yet, but once it's all up and running, I would love to get that up. Maybe even do some YouTube videos.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I don't know if I can kind of stay consistent with it, but if I can put something out that will both intrigue someone or even inspire them or help them get into a role. And of course, I want to kind of throw other stuff that's not tech related in there, stuff with my motorcycle, my car, my garage gym, video games, my PS5 right here. But yeah, it's something that can help the community or inspire someone. And here's my thing real quick that I love about this channel and community is like, there's so much content on the CCNA level, but I feel like there's a minimal pool of someone like me who's in the middle of like the professional tier that I'm in the center. I got my CCNA. I want to grow from that point in that experience level before the expert. And if I can push out maybe a little bit of content to help and inspire those people, then by all means, absolutely.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Manny, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you a little bit better, and we are honored to get to share your story on our podcast. Thank you very much. I want to throw a quick shout out to Andy. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
You're going to have your birthday this weekend, and by the time
Thanks,
this
man,
airs, we'll have...
I'm turning 30, man. I can't believe it.
30. I love it.
Yeah, keep
settle down, Dan. Yeah. Settle down.
I'm like wanting to chomp, but
that was for you, Dan. That was for you. I was putting it out there for you, buddy. Thanks, AJ. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we'll see you back next week. See ya. Hey everyone, this is AJ. If you like what you heard today, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcatcher. Smash that bell icon to get notified of all of our future episodes. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at ArtOfNetEng. That's Art of NETENG. You can also find us on the web at artofnetworkengineering.com, where we post all of our show notes. You can read blog articles from the co-hosts and guests, and also a lot more news and info from the networking world. Thanks for listening.